Welcome to the Scaleup Valley podcast, where we bring the best of the best to help you scale your business from 1 million to 1 trillion. Today's guest is Giuseppe Giordano, the co-founder and CEO at Enerbrain. Giuseppe, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here.
Likewise. So yeah, it'd be great to get to know more about yourself and about the amazing story that you have shared with me before of how you started up Enerbrain and why.
All right, absolutely. So my background, I was born in Torino, which is northeast Italy. My background is in architecture. So I learned how to design mostly like commercial buildings. I then did an experience abroad in London, working in designing industrial building as well. And I happened to extend my study in the US. There I found myself in Austin, Texas, taking a master in sustainable design, where I met this professor that was really like pushing us, encouraging us to explore a little bit more like entrepreneurship paths, and through an incubator program, like a startup program at UT Austin, I did a hackathon, and there basically I started getting involved in technology and in energy specifically. So my role as a designer, architect was more thinking about the product, the storytelling, so which is a very important piece of the equation. Usually you have storytelling, and somebody that is taking care of the product itself, and then the sales. So it was more product marketing. And I did an interesting experience. Back then we were doing basically a gamification about energy monitoring, which was a hot topic in 2013.
Exactly.
And I became interested in the world of energy. I met Marco from Torino, my hometown. And Marco was working on a very interesting problem of optimization, of automation. So from my point of view, extracting data and monitoring was a great value, but closing the loop was much more interesting and appealing. Right. Stronger, like a stronger solution. So with Marco, the story goes that there was a very cold winter back 2014, around same time. And he was he's a physicist as a background. And so he started wondering how he would need to control his domestic heater to obtain steady comfort and savings. Because there was a time where temperature was shifting, minus 10, plus 10, minus 10, like drastically. And so he started to understand that through an equation, he could take into account all the key parameters, such as the inertia, the usage of the building, how many people, weather forecast. And he was solving manually this equation, controlling the knob, and he learned that he could actually get a very steady comfort and about 30% energy savings. So me and him started to approach customers to understand, to do a little bit of market validation. And we learned that there was a really interesting this solution. And so we basically started doing a first round of fundraising. We approached the first customer, which is Lingotto. It's one of the largest cities in Torino. It's one of the largest buildings in Torino, a former Fiat factory. When it was built, it was the largest factory in the world, to give you an idea. And this was maybe speaks a little bit about, it was like a ballsy move on our end, because we thought, okay, your domestic heater is very interesting as a problem, but it's not really going to make a big impact. So let's try and find the largest boiler, the largest heater that we can, that we can think of. So we went to the customer. We we basically did a proof of concept, fully paid. And then after this proof of concept, we saved 30% energy savings. And the main idea was to share these savings with the customer. So in the same time, we basically got a technical and a commercial validation. And from that point, the initial team of 4 people grew to 8. 1 year later, we were 16, 30. We are 50 today, and we're going to be 70, operating from 12 markets today, mostly Europe, not just Europe. We do have activities and installation in Middle East and Asia. And so, yeah, this is in a nutshell the story. Enerbrain's mission is really to put more intelligence. That's where in buildings, and this is where the name comes from, because we feel like intelligence is really the weak link in the chain, and it's really something where leveraging AI, machine learning, IoT. Is a real kind of vertical application that has multiple benefits. So the benefits are for the users, first of all, because we guarantee steady comfort. We control the air quality, which is very important in this time, because through CO2, you can understand if the environment is safe or not. There is enough fresh air. It's a parameter that we use to determine occupation and air quality. For the companies, the organizations that are managing the building, we give them better tools. We decrease significantly complaints. We give them visibility on the status of the system. On a higher level, we guarantee the asset owners to kind of transform their buildings with a cost-effective solution and a scalable solution, which is the most important thing. And one layer above, we are basically orchestrating everything that is happening at the scale of a building, at the scale of the city. So the energy community and all the services that will be enabled by the smart grid.
That's quite an amazing story. Thanks for sharing it with the community. Just for the Scaleup founders and leaders that are listening to the podcast, could you give us a little bit more of a nuance? You talked that you are 50 people at this time. So what is kind of the revenue branch, and are you at Series A, moving to Series B? So a little bit more of extra insights on the stage of growth that you are in with Enerbrain.
Yeah, so 2020 was a challenging year, but we are still getting 90% of our target that we set in January. So we're going to close the year at 4 million in revenues. Next year, we plan on doubling that to 8, and we want to reach 22 million by 2022. Actually, sorry, 2023. I don't know if we can cut it, but
yeah. Don't worry. This is a normal conversation. Don't worry to edit it. But good in terms of funding rounds. So you are then raising a Series B round.
Oh, we are in negotiation as of now with a major European utility to actually extend our market in other, distribute our product in other markets where this utility operates. And we are looking at around 3 to 5 million investment, which for us will be around B.
Right, got it. Perfect. So we have the story, now we have more context about the stage of growth for the ones who are tuning in. And we always discuss 3 critical ingredients to scale in the show. Number 1 is radical focus. Number 2 is world-class leadership /team/culture. We keep editing this one. And number 3 is a culture of execution. So starting with radical focus, it's very tempting for any company that starts scaling to try to approach every single avenue of growth. And it creates also a lot of fear to say no to potential avenues of growth. So, of course, we know that in this industry, the total addressable market, the size of the market and opportunity needs to be big, but we need to go niche after niche. So, kind of summarizing what we discuss a lot of times on the show, the riches are in the niches. And in that way, as you said, it's important to create the narrative, the storytelling, also about how we will achieve our vision in the short, in the mid, and in the long term. So, what have been some of your lessons assuring that you stay focused with Enerbrain along your startup and scale-up journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So our idea was from the very beginning to develop a retrofit solution, which is surprisingly a niche because not many technology companies are actually aware occupying this space. So our in a way we produce energy management systems which also Siemens, Honeywell, Schneider, Johnson Control. So these are like incumbents of a certain size.
Not small.
Exactly, but their business model is really when an hospital gets built to win the bid, to install the system, and then to sell maintenance services for 20 years. This is roughly the lifespan of a system. When something breaks or it's out of warranty, you need to refer back. So there is like a vendor lock-in in this regard. The issue from the customer side is that if you have a portfolio of 10, 50, 500, 1,000 buildings, you're probably going to face a significant fragmentation of technologies, of brands, and so on. So our idea was the initial patent around this man-in-the-middle approach. So we basically interfere in the control signal in between the central system and the field components. And this approach is patented, and it really allows us to go fast, to never break the warranty, and to be fail safe. Because as a man in the middle, we basically correct in real time the instruction, but we can also be bypassed. And this is actually one of the ways we use when we approach a customer. So there is a test period in which we show the functioning of your building when it's operated by Enerbrain and when it's operated by the original system in 4 or 8 alternative weeks. So you need to think of Enerbrain as a supervisor. This is the core of yeah, it's really that, and it's surprisingly that this concept gives really incredible results with a short payback, minimal disruption. It's a hot installation, so potentially no disruption, and the solution is designed to be very fast and very easy to deploy. So during lockdown, we were able to ship boxes to Estonia, to Russia, to Norway, to Dubai, and perform 100% remote installations, which is a big plus. And it's also one of the reasons why we are talking to energy utilities, because we want their team to be able to deploy Enerbrain. And actually, me and you could deploy it. It's that simple. It's sensors that are shipped already connected to the cloud. So every sensor has a modem and a connectivity that it's working in the shipping box. We are monitoring even that. And the other, what we call e-nodes, which are the actuator, have a SIM card on board, so they have their own connectivity. Everything is installable remotely. So to give you an idea, the largest installation today, we deploy 90 buildings in 20 working days, using a 4 team of 2 electricians. That we, so this is, I feel, something that we're very proud of, because we think it's a significant milestone, and it speaks about the maturity of this technology. This is the original kind of Enerbrain. Moving on, we of course talking about focusing. We had customer asking, okay, well, how about doing also industrial application, or you know, and really we had to think hard and decide if we wanted to, you know, go in a direction that was a potential distraction. But what we learned was that actually, with the Industry 4.0 incentives that exist in Italy, most of Europe, you know, that market was actually moving very, very fast. And so we created a custom application for Michelin, where we are monitoring one of the largest factory they have in Italy. They produce the large tires for all over the world. And this project is very interesting because we use our core product to generate savings. We are talking about a plant that uses 7 million euros per year in energy. And 10% is HVAC, so heating and cooling. 90% is process. We use the savings from the heating and cooling, which were amounting to 40% of that amount, to also put budget for energy management system that was basically extracting data from the production line and giving them real-time information on the cost of manufacturing a single tire in the morning, afternoon, and night shift. So in order to do that and to avoid the distraction, we created a dedicated team, which we call the Industry 4.0 kind of team, and they kind of that partnership actually resulted in that team, the business unity, led to a frame agreement with Fiat and Edison. So we're very proud to say that Enerbrain is powering 5 plants of Fiat. There's more to come in the coming years, and it actually it was actually a bet that proved very successful. Moving forward, as I said, we are talking to utilities aggregated. You have to think that the world of energy has been changing significantly over the past 10 years because we had kind of government utilities, like very centralized control of the grid, low impact of renewables. It's very different today because there's a lot of actors. Renewable having massive impact in how we balance the grid. And so from here to the next 10 years, there's going to be, again, probably lots of merger and acquisition. We're going to see less actor, but more specialized. The business model is moving from relying on the sale of the commodity to sell services. And so our focus today is to go in that direction. We're very well positioned because our devices and our offer is already appealing as it is, because we deliver efficiency, comfort, and remote like management tools. If we build on top of this the capability of getting, being an enabler for the smart grid, this is really like what utilities, what the market is asking. There isn't much today to allow utilities to perform remote control. So demand side management is really balancing the grid according to the needs in terms of peaks, in terms of load shifting. So we basically have an algorithm today that is taking two main inputs, which is comfort and savings. And tomorrow is going to be comfort, savings, and grid kind of demands.
Got it. That's an amazing explanation of how the solution is evolving and how you are focusing on kind of concrete niche after niche. Also, a very good insight on how to structure a squad around a specific vertical like Industry 4.0. I think this is a very good best practice. Also on the geographies component, you can also do the same. And maybe let's go into that point as well, still inside radical focus. You said that you are at this moment present in 13 or 12 markets with Enerbrain. So one of the mistakes that sometimes we see is trying to attack too many markets, too many geographies at the same time. So what have been some of your lessons? And I know that you also have an interesting model for partnerships to make your solution more scalable and to be able to execute the strategy faster, right?
Yes, of course, like when I have to admit at the very beginning, we were very tactical in that sense, meaning there was an opportunity and we were, chasing it. Very quickly, we learned that this is a defocus, it's a distraction. So today we have a model where when we look at a market, we have like a grid to establish if the price of energy is right, because selling energy efficiency in a market where energy is incredibly cheap might not be that appealing. Although I have to say there are countries like Nordics that are happy to accept a longer payback because they have other motivations behind. Yeah, today we have a criteria to select a market. Then we typically go into the market and find like a high visibility project. In terms of Norway, to stay in that market, we did the Technical Museum of Oslo. Like a visibility again opportunity. We used the first project to train a local partner, which usually is somebody that needs to be in the field, so we can leverage his network, his knowledge, and its team, and then we basically train them to perform tasks, and in a way, kind of leverage them to extend our presence in this market. So this is true, and it's one model. We also have a second model, which is a JV. So when that relationship needs to be very strong, we have the opportunity to do a JV. This is true outside of Europe for now, because we feel partners that are in another continent needs to have more skin in the game. And so we established a JV in Japan and a JV in Dubai because we want to have even more commitment from the local partner. And also because in these markets, specifically Japan and Middle East, it's sort of a step that you need to take in order to be taken seriously. The third model is to have local offices. This is a third model that we tried in Spain, and we're going to expand in the countries where these utilities operate, because the idea there is to have an inside salesperson. So this utility is going to invest, but the criteria really was to pick a utility where we could actually have commercial synergies, and that's true. And so in order to make this work, we're going to have Enerbrain people working from their offices, trying to get all the projects, all the bids, all the tenders that we can kind of digest and work in that way. So we have 3 models. This is the result of the fact that on one end we are flexible, so we have the luxury of experiment and fail. And I can tell you that there's been failures for sure, but our process is always to look at what we learn. Establish what we want to learn first. What are the criteria? We establish a budget, a time. After the experiment is over, we need to draw conclusions, and it's absolutely okay to fail. So this is how we operate today.
That's a cool agile mindset and some food for thought for the scale-up leaders and founders that are listening us. And so let's move into the world-class leadership /team/culture segment of the conversation. I like a lot the way you explained me in preparation of this session about the family versus soccer team concepts. I would love you to talk a little bit about that, and also to comment the different transitions and what you think were the main lessons as you moved from 4 to 8 to 16 to 32 and to 50 people this year with Enerbrain.
Yeah, so the best way I can use to describe it is like working in a different company every year. Exactly. Another way that I use, which is playing a video game where every year, every level has like a monster at the end. You barely survive. You make it next. But, in a way, like a 4-people company is a different company from an 8 people and then 16. So you need to have, first of all, the founding team needs to be very, very, very strong. There's going to be ups and downs, but the ups are really up and the down can be really, really low. So having co-founders that are with you and are always are there to support you, and you need to be there for them is the most important thing, because a lot of bad stories come from disagreement between co-founders. I think it's one of the first causes of failure. So this is, again, I want to say, is like the absolute first pillar. Then you need to being able to attract the talent as you grow, because as I was explaining to you, in this progression, it's almost like if you are an amateur like soccer team that gets promoted to the what's in Italian is Serie D, and then Serie C and B, and then the Premier League, and then you can go eventually to play in the Champions League. So there's 2 phenomena that happen in this journey. On one end, as I was saying, you can attract talents and players that would have not played in your team 1 or 2 or 3 years back. And so this raises the bar. And on the other end, you have a responsibility to grow the group that was with you. And it's okay to, if some of the players that were perfectly fine at the beginning leave for other job, because companies need different expertise in different time, and somebody might not like the change as you grow, but there is still a core that is really, really, really important, and are the really, really, really passionate ones that are the right people for you. And they represent the critical kind of core. I think one of my duty is to really build the perfect team in terms of giving people challenges, like real challenges, and giving them the very best colleagues that it's possible. If you have these two ingredients, then you can attract and retain talent, because these are the two pieces that you need to grow as an individual, to grow professionally. And Enerbrain mission is also towards sustainability, decarbonization, a better world. So that is a big motivation. The purpose. It's becoming more and more important, and it's recognized as an important element. And I want to add being really fast at understanding what are the gaps and working on them. Gaps can be everywhere in the organization, starting from the management team, and really work on kind of caring about people, because if you care about people, they're going to care about your customers.
Exactly, kind of the Starbucks mentality of Howard Schultz. And before moving into the culture of execution and talking a little bit more about the OKRs and the rituals to keep everyone on the same page, there is something that I also enjoy a lot on one of your values of your culture, which is to embrace failure. You have already commented that during the show, but could you highlight a little bit more how you try to kind of embrace failure and embrace mistakes to learn quickly and to improve? As you are not, as you said, in kind of sending no one for the space or having an important synergy that can cause the death of a person.
Yeah, this is. I read an article once that was about creating from HBR, creating a psychologically safe environment. And I think it's crucial to kind of think that there is not a playbook to a startup. We're doing new things. And what you want to see is, or what you want to encourage, it's like entrepreneurship from people. Like the idea of you want to have people that have an impact. And in order to have an impact, you need to have initiative, you need to have ownership, and you need to protect people from failure. So we place bets every day. I was telling you, we place bets on markets where we go. We place bets on products, on people that we hire, and on projects. If you have a process where you encourage people to take these bets, you set like a framework, which is, okay, what is the hypothesis? What do we want to verify? How we are going to determine if, what's going to tell us that the answer is yes or no? What is the criteria? What is the timeline that we want to take? And then, if the hypothesis, for instance, we were doing an experiment about marketing channels, and one idea was, maybe telemarketing could work for us, but we don't know, right? It's a cold calling. It's something that we never tried, and we set a time, and we learned that so far, like the results are not not what we expect, because it takes a long time. I have to say, like our sales cycle is 9 to 18 months, sometimes even longer. So the hypothesis was, could we shorten this this time through telemarketing? And the answer was no. This was it didn't work, at least on the verticals that we tried. And Stephanie, the marketing director, was a little sad because she really, really wanted it to work. And she would say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, we invested so much money and time." But I said, look, it's okay. Like, it's not a failure. We learn something. You know, you're not gonna get. You know, like you need to really encourage people when they make a bet, when they place a bet, but also when they make a mistake, because I think you never have. Just this is our approach, at least about OKR. We don't use OKR to judge people, but we use OKR to measure and judge processes. And this leaves off the pressure from people, because they're not gonna. They know that they're not going to bet to you know, to get their bonus paid on that. So they risk more.
I love it, and I think that's one of the main mistakes with OKRs nowadays, trying to make it an integrated and a kind of a 360 system, and kind of takes out the spirit of the OKRs, which is really trying to achieve moonshots, right? And if it is related with bonus, we will start going much more for roof shots. I mean, trying to be much more cautious about what we define as a success, and challenge us a little bit less. And the other thing is really thinking that OKRs and the soccer team is a team sport, right? Mm-hmm. So of course the players need to perform very well individually, but it's the team result that is the most important thing. Yeah. End. So if the company doesn't end, or if the team doesn't win, if the company or the team doesn't win, it doesn't matter that player was the best in the game, right? So we didn't achieve the goal. So
we have Ronaldo here in Torino, so you know, Juventus doesn't win automatically the Champions League because of Ronaldo, because
that's a good point, unfortunately. and finally, you have already introduced it inside the culture of execution segment, and the last one, the importance of OKRs. And I also believe that attached to OKRs, it's the importance of rituals. And I think that defining what means success, and then having the weeklies, the monthlies, the quarterlies, the annuals, and always reviewing, learning as quickly as possible. If what we consider a good measurement of success is the right measurement or not, to change that, we found a better metric to measure that success, and to learn as a team. I think that's really the point. It's to learn as quickly as possible as a team, so we can speed up execution and speed up clarity. So do you have any specific rituals that are helping you to assure that everyone is on the same page? So any best practices, any lessons that you would like to share with the community?
Yeah, first of all, I have to say that OKR were tried last year, and we failed spectacularly. Typical of the first trial. We learned that it was a high risk. But OKR are important because they really place an emphasis on stuff that it's important, but might not be urgent, and on transparency. So you commit publicly about achieving something, and this is two, I think, very important pieces. The idea behind it is to get buy-in from people about building a better company by working on the weakest link of the chain. So you say, okay, we can go as fast as the slowest part, and by fixing that, I think people get really, and by doing that on a quarterly basis, I think people feel that they actually can impact, and their opinion counts, and their efforts are actually changing things. So it's a sense of empowerment first and foremost. Out of all the rituals, I want to say the planning session is one of the most important, because it's really the opportunity to sit down with your team and again discuss about all of these important topics, that are never urgent because there is always a customer meeting that you want to take rather than fixing, I don't know, the HR process. But guess what? If you don't fix the HR process, the people that are going, that might, you know, you might not have an employee that is as engaged talking to the customer. So, so the two important rituals are definitely the planning session and I think the daily scrum. Like having at least this year, I think for us having 15 minutes on the phone or via webcam every day. It's a very, very important way of feeling kind of part of a team, which in 2020, because of remote working, I think was a really, really important component of keeping the team together.
Really, really good point. The dailies also helped a lot. I think that a lot of teams that were kind of reticent or conservative about doing dailies embraced dailies with the pandemic because they were kind of missing the human touch and the regular contact now working from home, right, and working remotely.
And you have to you have to think that like a lot of people, sorry, there's a lot of people are actually kind of reacting differently from working remotely. And there is a big human part that is missing now. And so these little rituals make up a lot of that.
So let's go into the last question of the show. It's getting a long one, but I found it was useful to kind of go a little bit longer today. And if you would have the opportunity to meet yourself at the beginning of this journey, or meet your younger self, Giuseppe, in 2015, what advice would you offer to your younger Giuseppe?
Okay, that's a very, very good question. I think it's probably to try to put. So I was always interested in learning best practices, but not necessarily fast about implementing them and trying them quickly. So probably I would have implemented OKRs, earlier. Probably I would have implemented HR procedure, better HR procedure, better. In a way, I think working on the culture from the very beginning, I think it's something that really allows you to grow. So in a way, what I said at the very beginning, if you care about people, was something that we learned was important about the time we were 30, 35 people, and there was no HR function. And when you realize that, you're like, okay, wow, this is urgent, and it's also important. So I think probably establish an HR function earlier would have been better, because through HR you are actually building and retaining talent, attracting talent, which is the single most important thing for you to succeed. So again, HR is something that you do not understand when you are, or the importance of HR processes. You don't understand when you're 4 or 8, because at the very beginning, a lot of startups grow kind of through word of mouth. And so if you attract some talent, you're lucky to attract the first talents, then they call other talents. And so for us, at least, we were very lucky, because we got the first core of people that was super engaged. But then when you stretch the organization and you double every year, you have also to think that people get a lot of pressure. Like working in a startup and doing that path from 100K to 8 to 10 million and over requires like certain people that are not the majority. So identify them, keeping them, working. For instance, we established an option pool, which is common outside of Italy, but for me, at least, it was an idea that I took from working in the US. But it wasn't very common. Like, I think we were the very first startup in Italy to have a bylaws that allowed us to do that, and we had to donate shares because legally it was fairly complex. So we found a notary that was really like an innovative notary that was the one that helped us write the bylaws to allow us to do something that no one else, to his knowledge, had implemented in Italy. So we're very proud of having done that, because this is a really important tool for growth, especially the very beginning. You attract talent through equity, by making them feeling they're part of the team, and if the project has success, they're going to see a share of that.
Exactly. Loved it. So thanks so much for making the time, Giuseppe, to share your journey and some of your lessons with the community today. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you very much, Mike. Again, it was a pleasure. Anytime.
And to our community and to you that are tuning in the podcast, we keep bringing you the best of the best to help you scale your business from 1 million to 1 trillion. See you soon and keep scaling. But before we go, I almost forgot that this is an episode of a special season called Breakthrough Engineering with IMI, Hydronic Engineering. And now that's when I say goodbye, see you soon, and keep scaling.